So there's very few things in life that smell or taste better than fresh baked chocolate chip cookies. So today we're going to talk about Ruth Wakefield and her recipe for chocolate chip cookies called Toll House cookies, and I'm going to tell you why they're called that. So back in the 1930s, they used to have these things called toll houses. And what that meant was when people were traveling, they'd stop in the toll houses and they'd pay their toll and they'd also get a meal. So Ruth and her husband owned a toll house right outside of Boston. And one day she was making her chocolate dewdrop cookies, but she didn't have the melted chocolate for the cookies. So what she did was she broke up a regular bar of chocolate and dropped it in the batter, thinking it would spread throughout the batter and then she'd have her chocolate cookies. Well, that's not what happened. What happened was the chocolate retained its shape. But she served them anyway because it was the only dessert she had, and the customers loved them. So she kept making them, and as the customers came, they got the recipe from her, and so then they started buying the ingredients for the recipe. Well, the Nestle's company took notice of this and realized their sales were spiking on the East Coast. So they did some investigation, and they gave Ruth Wakefield a visit and found out what she was doing. And what they did was they asked her what they could do for her and how they could incorporate this recipe into their company. So Ruth gave them a couple of suggestions. One was to score the chocolate so that it was easy to break and you didn't have to cut it all up. And that's why chocolate bars have these scores in them, so they would be easy to break. It originally started for the cookies, but then in 1947, they came out with chocolate chips. And the other thing Ruth got was her recipe on the back of the chocolate chips, and that's why they say Nestle's Toll House cookies, because they were invented in Ruth Wakefield's Toll House. She also got a lifetime supply of chocolate, which is not a bad deal. So the next time you're smelling delicious chocolate chip cookies or eating one, remember to thank a woman. Thank Ruth Wakefield.